You know, sometimes I have my moments, and I do feel like I got a lot on me. Even if
it's the smallest thing,
it'd be all life's anger in me
that comes
out, and everybody that's in my life at that moment feels that anger.
That's good ownership, Trish. Honestly, what's your biggest issues with Ken?
The aggression. It's just like it's a lot. The heightened aggression he has and me being damaged don't go together, because I'm going to automatically be on defense.
Ken is one of those men that people stop and notice, not just because of his presence, but because of the way he chooses to show up in his relationship. When people say, "That's a good man, Savannah," they're not just throwing words in the air. They're pointing to someone who is consistent, who loves out loud, and who tries to be there even when it isn't easy. In the conversation that took place, it became clear that Ken truly does love, care, and show up in ways that are rare. That is not something you see every day, especially in today's dating world where loyalty, commitment, and deep care can sometimes feel like they are in short supply. When you hear people speak about him, there's a sense that despite his flaws, his love and his heart are not in question. And in any relationship, that is a foundation that can be built upon. At the same time, the reality is that love alone doesn't take away the challenges that come with two adults trying to blend lives, responsibilities, and past wounds. The main point that was raised is that the relationship is between two grown people, Ken and the woman he's with. It's not about anyone else. The kids are important, of course, but the base of everything has to be the connection between the two adults. When that connection is solid, when communication is flowing, the rest of the family can feel that stability. But when the communication is broken or one partner doesn't feel validated, cracks start to form. That's where the issues we're hearing about really come into play. Point one of the strongest themes that came up was validation. Ken, as much as he loves, gives, and shows up, still seems to feel at times like his efforts aren't fully acknowledged. And that can wear out a person. Validation isn't just about saying thank you. It's about making your partner feel seen, valued, and respected in the role they play. In Ken's case, people pointed out that he does step in as a father figure, caring for children that are not biologically his, and treating them with the kind of love that you honestly can't buy. That alone is something people recognized as rare and special. But if he feels like those actions aren't fully appreciated, it can create tension. It's worth saying that even when a man loves deeply, if he feels invisible, that love can get clouded by frustration. And frustration is exactly what we saw surface in the form of aggression. His partner admitted that her biggest issue with Ken is the aggression. When his temper rises, it clashes with her own emotional triggers. She described herself as someone who is already damaged from past experiences, which means that when Ken raises his voice or gets angry, her defense walls go up. It's not just a reaction to him in the moment. It's a reaction to the ghosts of her past relationships, where aggression and heightened emotions meant danger or disrespect. That's where things get complicated, because her instinct is to meet his energy with equal or higher energy. The truth is, you can't meet fire with fire and expect peace. Several people in the conversation tried to stress this point. When both people raise their energy to match the other's anger, it doesn't resolve anything. It only escalates. Someone has to be willing to de-escalate, to breathe, to step back. But that's easier said than done when emotions are raw and both partners feel unheard. And it's exactly in these heated moments that relationships can either break or grow. If Ken and his partner can learn how to communicate even when anger is in the room, they can find a way forward. Another very interesting point that came out of the conversation is ownership. Ken's partner admitted that sometimes the smallest things can trigger all the built-up anger she's carrying. She acknowledged that it might not even be about the current situation, it's the weight of everything she's holding. And when something small happens, all of that energy spills out. That's a huge moment of self-awareness. Not everyone can say that out loud. To own that you are carrying anger, and that sometimes you're unleashing it on the wrong people, shows that there's a desire to grow. But awareness is only the first step. The next step is actually working on healthier ways to manage that anger, so it doesn't become a cycle that keeps replaying in the relationship. What stood out even more was how other voices in the room pushed her to really think about what she wanted. When asked if she wanted to keep Ken, she said yes, but the way she said it didn't sound convincing to everyone. That sparked a challenge. People around her wanted to hear not just words, but passion. They wanted to hear her fight for her relationship. Because as much as Ken is seen as a good man, the relationship will only last if both people are fully invested. Love has to be chosen daily. And when challenges show up, you can't sit back, you have to fight for what you believe is worth it. This is where the idea of worth fighting for becomes powerful. Some people were blunt, either Ken is worth fighting for or he isn't. There can't be a but. If you believe he's worth it, you step up, you do the work, you show him, and you tell him. Because hesitation sends mixed messages. And for a man who already feels unvalidated, mixed messages can feel like rejection. That's why the conversation ended with a push. If she truly feels Ken is worth fighting for, then that's the energy she needs to bring every day. Looking at this relationship, what we're really seeing are two people who love each other but are still learning how to unlearn their old patterns. Ken's aggression doesn't come from a place of hate, but it's still damaging when it shows up unchecked. Her defense doesn't come from a lack of love, but it creates walls that block intimacy. Together, they have the ability to shift, but only if they stop matching negative energy and start choosing intentional calm. It's about building a new rhythm that allows both of them to feel validated and secure. What's really inspiring, though, is that despite the struggles, no one doubted Ken's love. Even in moments where his actions may not have been perfect, the love he has shown for his partner and her children stood out. That is a rare quality. To step into a family dynamic and embrace it wholeheartedly takes maturity, patience, and a huge heart. And that's why people were quick to remind her, men like that don't come around often. That's not something to take lightly. On the other hand, no relationship can thrive on love alone. Love is the seed, but communication, validation, respect, and emotional management are the water and sunlight. Without those, even the strongest seed struggles to grow. What's needed here is balance. If Ken can work on managing his aggression and learning how to express frustration without exploding, and if his partner can work on lowering her defenses and letting go of old pain, then together they could create something solid. This situation reflects something bigger than just one couple's issues. It's a mirror for many relationships today. How many people enter new relationships carrying the weight of old wounds? How many times do partners feel unvalidated, even when they're giving their all? How often does aggression meet defense, leaving both people feeling drained instead of connected? These are questions that go beyond just Ken and his partner. They're lessons for anyone watching. When you see a man like Ken, who is trying, who is showing up, and who is loving with everything he has, it becomes a reminder that relationships are not disposable. They're worth protecting if both people are willing to fight for them. But the fight isn't against each other. The real fight is against the patterns, the miscommunication, and the triggers that try to tear love apart. And perhaps that's the biggest takeaway here. Ken may not be perfect, but he's present. His partner may be damaged, but she's aware. Together, they have the chance to turn this into something lasting, but only if they both commit without hesitation. At the end of the day, when people say, "That's a good man, Savannah," they're not wrong. The question now is whether his partner will believe that too, and whether she will show him with her actions that she knows his worth. Because when both partners know each other's worth, there's nothing that can break them.